here. So arsenic's a naturally occurring element, and over the course of geological times, natural processes have spread it around the surface of the planet. But in more recent times, we've manufactured chemicals containing arsenic for specific purposes and then put them out in the environment, usually in support of agricultural practices where we're trying to kill unwanted plants or unwanted insects. And there's a fairly big legacy in certainly this part of the world, in Massachusetts, of pressure-treated wood that contains pretty high concentrations of arsenic that's slowly leaching out into the environment. So there's a lot of arsenic around, and it interacts with living organisms, it interacts with the rainwater and so on. So generally speaking, what happens is that arsenic compounds end up in our drinking water, regardless of where that's coming from, and they get into the food chain, and eventually we eat them. So the issues are really around how much arsenic is in our drinking water, and how much arsenic and what types of compounds are in our food, because not all arsenic compounds are equally dangerous. So let's take the arsenic situation. And if we leave aside the drinking water, which is not such a bad situation in this country, then the food that people should be really concerned about is rice and rice products. Now, the rice that we grow in this country, unfortunately, is contaminated with the residue of past agricultural practice. So a lot of rice in this country is grown in fields that used to be used for cotton production. And there was a fairly heavy and liberal application of arsenic-containing herbicides and pesticides that are still in the soil. And when we grow rice under flooded conditions, it's just really ideal for plants to take these compounds up. And unfortunately, rice is quite good at accumulating these kinds of compounds and transferring them into the grain. So consumers really need to be aware about the issues surrounding rice, particularly rice from the United States. There really is no regulation that's going to act as either a carrot or a stick to the rice growing and rice production industry. It's going to take the introduction of a standard by the Food and Drug Administration, and it's going to have to be sufficiently low that it's going to require action on their part. So I think one of the things that people should be advocating for is a concentration in food that's much lower than the values that we're seeing at the moment, because I think it's ineffective essentially to reinforce the status quo.